Not long ago, gadget features were driven almost entirely by competition and consumer demand. Companies raced to add new sensors, smarter automation, deeper personalization, and more aggressive data-driven capabilities. Regulation was often treated as a background concern, handled after products were designed. Today, that balance has flipped. In the US, regulatory pressure is no longer a secondary consideration. It is actively shaping what features gadgets include, how they behave, and in some cases, what they deliberately do not do. This shift is happening because gadgets are no longer simple consumer electronics. Smartphones, wearables, smart home devices, vehicles, and connected accessories now collect sensitive data, influence real-world behavior, and integrate deeply into daily life. As gadgets become more powerful and more pervasive, regulators are paying closer attention to how they operate and what risks they introduce. One of the most visible ways regulation shapes gadget features is through privacy controls. US regulators and state-level laws have increased scrutiny around how devices collect, store, and share personal data. As a result, many gadgets now include more explicit permission settings, clearer data usage disclosures, and granular controls that allow users to opt in or out of certain features. Some capabilities are intentionally limited by default to reduce exposure and compliance risk. This has directly influenced feature design. Instead of devices automatically enabling advanced tracking or personalization, many now require manual activation. Features that rely on constant monitoring, location tracking, or behavioral analysis are often softened or restricted. The technology still exists, but it is constrained by rules that prioritize user consent and transparency over seamless automation. Data minimization has become another design principle driven by regulation. Gadgets are increasingly built to collect less data rather than more. Engineers are encouraged to process information locally on the device instead of sending it to the cloud. This reduces regulatory risk related to data breaches, misuse, and cross-border data transfers. As a result, some features are redesigned to be simpler, less invasive, and more contained. Security requirements are another major regulatory force. As connected devices proliferate, regulators are concerned about vulnerabilities that could compromise networks, infrastructure, or personal safety. This has led to stronger expectations around encryption, authentication, update mechanisms, and secure defaults. Gadget features must now be designed with security baked in from the start, not added later. This focus on security influences usability and functionality. Some devices limit customization or third-party integrations because open systems are harder to secure and regulate. Features that allow unrestricted access or modification are often removed or tightly controlled to meet compliance standards. While this can frustrate power users, it reflects the priority regulators place on preventing misuse and large-scale risk. Regulation is also shaping how autonomous features are implemented. Gadgets that make decisions on behalf of users, such as smart home systems, vehicles, or health devices, face heightened scrutiny. Regulators want clear accountability when automated systems cause harm or malfunction. As a result, many autonomous features now include confirmation steps, override options, or reduced scope. Devices may suggest actions rather than execute them automatically. Health-related gadget features are especially affected. Wearables and smart devices that monitor heart rate, sleep, activity, or other biometric data must navigate complex regulatory boundaries. To avoid being classified as medical devices, many companies limit how health features are framed and what claims they make. This is why gadgets often emphasize wellness and insights rather than diagnosis or treatment, even when the underlying technology is capable of more. Environmental regulations are also influencing gadget design. Requirements related to energy efficiency, material sourcing, recyclability, and electronic waste are shaping hardware features and materials. Batteries, charging behavior, power management features, and component choices are increasingly influenced by compliance with environmental standards. Some features are simplified or removed to improve efficiency and reduce regulatory burden. Accessibility requirements play a growing role as well. US regulations and guidelines push companies to ensure gadgets are usable by a wider range of people. This affects interface design, physical controls, audio feedback, visual contrast, and input methods. Features must now accommodate diverse users, which often leads to more standardized and less experimental designs. Another area shaped by regulation is data interoperability and user rights. Some laws require companies to allow users to access, export, or delete their data. This influences how features are architected behind the scenes. Systems must be built with data traceability and reversibility in mind. Features that make data management too complex or opaque are increasingly avoided. From a business perspective, regulatory pressure changes feature prioritization. Instead of asking what is technically possible, companies ask what is defensible, explainable, and compliant. Features that introduce legal ambiguity or high compliance costs are often delayed or abandoned, even if they could differentiate the product. This creates a more conservative innovation environment. Regulation also encourages standardization. When rules apply broadly across the industry, companies converge on similar feature sets that meet minimum requirements. This can make gadgets feel more alike, but it reduces risk and simplifies compliance. Differentiation shifts toward software experience and ecosystem integration, rather than radical new hardware features. Importantly, regulatory pressure does not always reduce innovation. In some cases, it redirects it. Constraints force companies to find creative solutions that deliver value while staying within legal boundaries. Privacy-preserving technologies, on-device processing, and secure-by-design architectures have gained momentum precisely because regulation made them necessary. However, the pace of feature rollout is undeniably slower. Extensive testing, documentation, and legal review are now part of the feature development process. Gadgets evolve more cautiously, with fewer dramatic leaps and more incremental improvements. This reflects a trade-off between speed and safety. Consumer expectations have also shifted alongside regulation. Users are more aware of data privacy, security risks, and ethical concerns. Gadgets that ignore these issues face backlash, regardless of regulatory outcomes. Companies design features not just to satisfy regulators, but to maintain public trust. Looking ahead, regulatory influence on gadget features is likely to increase. As technology continues to blur boundaries between digital and physical worlds, oversight will expand. Features involving AI, automation, biometrics, and connectivity will face even closer examination. The U.S. gadget market is entering a phase where innovation and regulation are tightly intertwined. Features are no longer judged solely on how impressive they are, but on how responsibly they are deployed. In this environment, the most successful gadgets will not be those with the most aggressive features, but those that balance capability with compliance. Regulatory pressure is shaping gadgets not by stopping progress, but by redefining what acceptable progress looks like. What may feel like restraint on the surface is actually a reflection of maturity. Gadgets are no longer toys or novelties. They are infrastructure in people's lives. And when technology reaches that level of importance, regulation stops being an obstacle and becomes a design force of its own.